Hi, and welcome to the 10th episode of the Knitting Yak virtual edition. Today's guest is our friend Kirsten Kapur.
Hey!
Hey,
Hi, Kirsten. How are you?
good Paola, how are you?
Good. I'm trying to see who is joining. I see so many people that we know. Ciao, Martina. She's from Venice, and I see it. Each time I see people coming from all over the world, it's so nice to see the connection that we can build together during these chats. It's been amazing for me, and each time I have a different guest, it's nice because different people are coming in, and Amy, of course, is there. So
Hi,
probably
Amy.
any question that I have, I will ask Amy to answer. So anyway, thank you for joining me. I know that you've been kept very busy during this period. Oh, also, ciao Federica from Torino. Sorry. As usual, just send in your questions. We will try to go through your questions when we see them. If we don't get to you, we will try to scroll back and forth. And if not, just ask the question again. Sorry, that was the beginning of. So how you been doing?
Good. We moved in the middle of the pandemic, so that was interesting. So we're settling into our new apartment. We had signed our lease before we knew all this was coming, and it was too late to get out of it. So we moved at the beginning of April. We all wore our masks and gloves and washed everything super carefully. But yeah, it was a little worrying there for a few weeks when we hit the 2-week point after the move. We're like, yay, we didn't get sick. But
you like this place? You like this place better?
Like the new place. It's been interesting because we're in this new building now, and really just kind of holed up in this apartment. So we don't really know the people who work in the building, and haven't really seen any neighbors.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So everybody's left the city anyway. It's so quiet, at least in this neighborhood. Is it like that where you are?
Yes, we don't really, we know like a few neighbors, but we don't really, talk to each other, or, it's very different from Italy. We're nice to talk to each other, but we haven't seen anybody in weeks. I haven't seen any people. It's the only connection that I have to see people through this channel.
Yeah, thank goodness we have.
Yeah.
Thank goodness we have this knitting community to keep us all engaged.
Yeah. And I saw Dagmar just join us. And Dagmar, your sample didn't arrive. She sent in the sample for your laser shawl that I know that you have, and was supposed to arrive this morning. It hasn't arrived yet. Maybe it will arrive while we chat. But
I did see Dagmar's photos, and she did a beautiful job. I really love it.
Yeah. And we will
I see that somebody just asked a question. A knitting group in Atlanta asked about my mystery shawl. And yes, I am doing that this year. I will make the announcement sometime in the first week of May. So I'm really excited to do that again. I missed it last year. I was just had a really burned out year last year. I didn't get a lot of things done that I wanted to do, but I'm back at it and found my knitting mojo again. So mystery shawl is coming up.
Good. Yeah, I know that last year we talked about it. It was a bit of a slow in terms of number of designs that you put out, while the year before was incredibly fruitful. It was like you had so many, you're so busy, and I think it was almost too much.
I think that's what happened to me. I just burned myself out the previous year.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I really slowed down last year, because I'm finding the joy in it again. And I even think this time right now, where we're all at home, has made me appreciate it that much more. So I'm back loving the knitting again.
Yeah. So for the people that, a lot of new people are joining us today, and some know me, some know you, but Kirsten and I are, we are good friends. And, but we also, we used to be like to meet each other a lot, and when she comes to our showroom in the West Village. So not having that connection, or not having you around, it just, it's sad. I just said, just come over anyway. We will figure it out.
We can sit there 6 feet apart with our masks on.
Yes, the space is big. But maybe we should talk about how we met and how relationship started.
Do you remember the first time we met? It was at, I don't know if it was the first VK Live you did. I think it might have been.
No, it was not the first.
It wasn't the first?
I think it was the second or something. Yeah.
Second?
With your friend, with Bev, yeah?
With Bev. And Bev is much more extroverted than I am. So she was in there and all over the yarn. And I was just like petting the yarn in the background. But she was the one who really engaged with you and spoke to you.
Yeah.
But bit by bit, you and I really got to know each other.
Yeah.
And I learned that you weren't far from me, you know, being up in the West Village, and started coming to your tea and knitting events, which I love.
Yeah.
And we just got to know each other really well. And I think I terrorize you sometimes when I come up because I take all the yarn down.
You do. Yeah. But I do remember the first, you know, when you came into my booth, and Beverly, who at the time I had a store in New Jersey, and then she moved to Washington. Where did she move? Yeah, and Washington State. And she was like, you know, talking, and I just said, it's like, oh, we are coming. What are you doing? This yarn is lovely. And you were very quietly where all of the yarn was, and you were pulling the skeins and move them around, and they were attached. Thank God they were attached to that piece of wood.
I wouldn't have trashed your booth. I only do that to your showroom.
Yeah, yes, I did. And then Bev said, oh, you know, you should give Paola your business card, and you gave me your business card, which I still have.
Oh,
because you had, yes, I do. Because that business card is what made me think that you were the designer that I wanted to work with, because they had the Fort Tryon image on it. That's beautiful, you know, rectangular shawl or stole. And from that picture, and there was your daughter in it, of course. And I thought, okay, I want to work with this person. You know, I don't know much about it. So I went back at Ravelry and everything else. But was that name card, and I hold it. I think we hadn't collaborated for a couple of years. I think it took like a couple of years for us to really get together and do some yarn, and
And you called me up and asked me to come and help you select some colors to knit a sample of Fort Tryon. And ultimately, because that was originally designed with fingering weight, ultimately we did it in your medium, which is more of a worsted, and I wrote a second version of the pattern for that weight yarn. So now Fort Tryon, you know, if you buy that pattern, you get both the fingering weight version and that version.
And then, and that was, and you know, I just did the colors idea, and I think that's when, I think from that moment is when you start helping us with colors as well, and how I learned so much about colors is from you, for sure. I had not as much, you know, of course I love colors, and I like combining things, but you know, watching you in action, it's really fun. Maybe we should tell what happens when Kirsten Kapur comes to our showroom.
Well, I mean, the time that I really trashed it, I think, is when we were doing the book launch, when we did Vibrant Connections together. And we were setting up for that and pulling together kits for each one of the patterns. And I need to get the colors all spread out in front of me in order to pull combinations together. I need to see the whole picture.
We should say that I had just arranged all of the boxes in order. Because we had an event coming up, so I had arranged all the showroom, all of the yarn in the little cubbies, all, you know, nice by color. Everything was so organized. I was so proud. And Kirsten said, do you mind if I just grab a few skeins so that we can look at the kits? And then
and I kept promising her, I will put this away, but I spread it all out and pulled together my color combinations and started putting things away, but I wasn't doing it quite right. So, but eventually, between Paola and I, we got it back together.
Yeah,
somebody's knitting the Fort Tryon right now.
Oh, nice. Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, hi. I know you. And so that was like, you know, but when I saw what you were doing with the colors, I do the same now. I just pull all of them, put them on the floor, photograph them, you know, do the black and white to see the contrast, and the warm color, the, you know, the not so warm color, the cold colors. It's, but you know, you have a textile background. You want to talk about that, because I think that's what helps.
Yes. Yeah, way back when I worked in the garment industry, and I was initially just designing apparel, you know, skirts, blouses, pants, really basic stuff. And it wasn't hands-on enough for me. So the fabric people would come and, show us their print collections. And it's like, that's more me, because I can play with color, I can play with pattern. So I eventually left that job and went and worked for a textile company designing prints for fabric. And I had always loved color. I went to art school. I'd been using color all my life, but I think that job is what gave me a true understanding of color. Back in those days, we still did everything by hand. So we painted the designs. When we wanted to show our customer what the designs would look like, we'd paint with gouache paint the designs, but we'd have to match the colors perfectly to, so if, say, Macy's was doing a collection, they needed their solid color pants to match the print blouse. So we would have to sit for hours mixing colors and getting them absolutely perfect. And then I would go down to the mills for when they printed, and I'd have to approve the color combinations. So I'd have all my color swatches with me, and you have to look and get really specific about, this needs to be a little yellower or bluer or grayer, and usually the guys in the mills hate you because the bratty little designer from New York is sitting there going, no, that's not good enough. But that experience really taught me a lot about color, to see all those little nuances in color, and those can really make a difference. And we talk about that when you and I look at your colors when you're putting color collections.
And to be honest, I mean, you and Julie Hoover are the two designers that I refer to, and I always ask advice for our color palette. So a lot of the colors that we do, I'm not the only one working on them. I always, pick the first colors, then you come, and I said, oh yeah, come over, and then we look at them, and then you help. So, and then that's why everything fits so nicely in, I think, in our palette, because it's that, I have you and I have Julie advising. And then, and then what I do, it's always a little bit trick. I call you up and I say, look, we have all of this new yarn. We have the Baby Yak silk. We have this. Would you design something with it? Each time. I don't think you can say no to me.
No, I can't say no to you. I think the only thing I haven't completed the design in is the Baby Yak silk. Actually, I have that one. I do have some Baby Yak silk that I am supposedly designing with, but I've never quite gotten it right. But I think really every other yarn of yours I've designed. And I love them. I have so much fun.
Oh, thank you. And you also, and I think we told the story in one of the other chat that we had, is that when we went to, of course, we have a Baby Yak line, then we had a Baby Yak silk, we had a Tibetan Cashmere, and we wanted to do some wool. And I kept bugging Andrea, my partner, my working partner, and, can we do something with wool? And eventually it got some of this, like straight from the nomads. He got this wool, this fiber. Actually, the fiber, he just got the fiber. It was, I don't think it was even washed or something. I think maybe it was a little bit de-haired.
Yeah, I think it still had a lot of lanolin in it.
It still has a lot of lanolin, and it came to New York, and I said, well, let's call Kristen and let's see what she says. And we just gave it to you. And you just remember. I
think I was obnoxious and asked him for some.
Okay.
I wanted to spin it and see what it would be like as yarn.
Yeah.
So he very kindly did give me a little bit of that pile of fluff he had, and I eventually spun it up and brought it back.
And then you brought it back, and then I showed it, and I touched it, and actually I could not believe how soft it was. And I still have it. I still have the little swatch. Yes, I do. And I said to Andrea, let's do it. Look at that. So I don't know if we would have pushed it as fast if we had not spun it. So and then,
I didn't know that. That's nice.
Yeah,
I was so impressed too. There it is.
Came out.
It's gorgeous.
So you had the original, of course, and then you spun it yourself, and this is what we did in the mill. So for the one of you that don't know us, these are Tibetan Cloud line, 100% Tibetan wool, ethically sourced in Tibet. But I think you're just part of the mYak story as we are. I have the light. Let me move a little bit. Sorry. I got the light coming in that. But going back to when we met, I remember, looking you up and and you had so many shawls designed already.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have over 300-400 designs made,
Yeah.
And when you start coming to Always with Beverly, you came to tea and knitting,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that in New York, in the showroom that we host those events, and I think we had Julie Dam
Mm-hmm.
with us at that time, and we had just made a small collaboration with her to dye some of our cashmere with mushrooms, and then you saw those canes and you took them away.
They were so beautiful. They were so beautiful. The colors that Julie got with the mushrooms, I was stunned. I had never seen people dyeing with mushrooms.
Yeah. And this is Acorn and Arches is the result. Unfortunately, I don't have the sample is in the same box, but it was last week. For the people that follow me last week, the box that still hasn't arrived of all the samples from Italy, I think. We got stopped at custom. They were trying to tell us that the yak, which is a domestic animal, is a wild animal that is under what do you call it? Endangered. It's an endangered species.
Mm-hmm.
And we could not import it, and I'm like, maybe you should just Google it.
Oh
I mean, there is yak and yaks, and there's the Latin name is different. Oh. And so I had to call the Fish and Wildlife Administration office, apply for a license, get approved for that, and then eventually I send it over. And then the guy answered, said, "Oh no, you don't need this. He said, the yak is a domestic animal." I'm like, "Duh!" So those samples are still in the somewhere.
Oh my gosh! So they're still en route. You don't know.
Well, they're coming now. They're coming. No, because we've done all of it. But anyway, going back. Sorry for the digressing. It's just to show how for some people the Baby Yak fiber is still a sort of a very exotic fiber, while for the Tibetan is very normal. But this shawl was the first one that you designed, Acorn and Arches, and is the first one that you designed, and then we did it again. We knitted it again in our Baby Yak lace, which also
because the original one was in Cashmere.
Yes, then the Cashmere sold out. Mm-hmm. That was the collaboration that we did. It was for Julie was dyeing the cashmere in her kitchen. So so then we decided to make it in other colors, and but that was so we made it in our Baby Yak, which is the same lace weight.
Mm-hmm.
Why am I showing everything in white today? It's weird. Where's my pinks?
Where's your beautiful pink?
Look, I have a lavender.
There you go.
That's more likely, is it? That's more likely. But so I think that we had a lot of quite a few people that knitted with this one, and and I think then you had more designs, and I was looking up your design, and we knitted your Cladonia.
Mm-hmm. Cladonia is one of my. I designed that well over 10 years ago, but it's still a strong seller for me, and it looks gorgeous in your yarn. I love the colors. You did that in the Baby Yak silk, right?
We did that in the Baby Yak silk. That's the sample. I'm trying to see what I have the picture. You have over 3,000 projects in the Cladonia on Ravelry, and and so many people are not on Ravelry. So God knows how many thousands of Cladonia are out in the world.
Well, and I think there are people. There it is.
Yeah,
that's a gorgeous combo you did.
Yeah, we did with the Baby Yak silk, which is here.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think there are people who are on Ravelry and sometimes don't get around to putting photos of their projects up.
Yes, yeah. So we did that with our Baby Yak silk, and we put it up on our website. So there's a lot of, sorry, this is, of course, it's the wrong color. Sorry. Here.
Yeah, that's really
And we did a lot of color combination with you as well. So, we have a lot of samples of whatever color. I think whatever color you put together with this is nice. You can just even put these two together, or anything that you do. Of course, some yellows and greens. So,
and that's the sort of pattern where you don't have to worry too much about contrast. Like with color work or mosaic knitting, you need to worry about having one darker and one lighter so you get the contrast.
Yeah.
But Cladonia, it's 2 colors, but it's stripes, so you can make it more muted and have them more similar, or have high contrast. It works both ways. So you can't go wrong, in the colors of that yak silk are so beautiful. I love it when you spread them out on the table in sort of color order there, so it's like a little rainbow of them. It just looks so pretty. I want to go in and grab them and start playing with the colors when I see them like that.
And I started your Bradford Road with it. You have it there, yeah? Do you have your Bradford Road with you?
You know, because of the move, unfortunately, I stashed my samples somewhere. I couldn't find my Bradford Road or my Dover Lane, but
I'll show a picture. So Bradford Road, and again, they're all of the patterns are on Ravelry, and you can find also everything on our website, all the combos, ideas, links to Kirsten's Ravelry store. Everything is there with all the color combination that you need. But this is
there it is,
Bradford Road,
and a beautiful photo there by Gail Zucker.
Yes.
On my friend Beverly. That's a different Beverly. That's Beverly Army Williams modeling, not Beverly Mazzarella.
So this was the one that I said, oh yeah, I could knit that. And somehow I decided to do it with the Baby Yak silk. I think it has like 7 colors or something like that. It's really a lot.
The design is 5.
Oh, 5,
colors
okay.
in that pattern,
It sounded like forever.
It felt like 7.
Well, I'm just in the first piece. I'm still on the first piece. I started last
look
summer.
how pretty that is, though. I love your colors.
But I'm still here. It's getting there. But it's one of those projects. It's wonderful. And I think these rectangular wraps are amazing because you knit them in pieces. So they're very portable.
Yeah.
And, you know, this one is so light, so you can just knit anywhere. And it should be mindless knitting for any knitter but me, I think. It is a mindless.
Well, you won't have a problem with that now because you finished Dover Lane, which is a really similar construction.
Yeah.
So you can do it.
I know. I just, put it out again. I was like, oh, okay, look, I can do it. But this is, and it doesn't matter what color you start with. I mean, again, I think we went back and forth with this color combination and you had me picking it out.
Mm-hmm.
But this is amazing. I think I used to call you the queen of shawls, but I decided for another name. So now to me, you are the queen of the rectangular wraps.
You know, rectangular wraps are what I want to wear, I have found. So that's what I've been designing more and more.
Yeah.
I got into shawls years ago because I was at that stage of life where I was taking my kids to all their after school activities. So I needed something small and portable to take in the car with me, or on the train. I'd bring my kids. We lived in New Jersey at the time, and I was bringing 2 of them into the city a lot for music lessons. So we'd be on the train and I'd be knitting away. And I started making shawls for that reason and designing shawls ultimately because that was what was portable. But now my kids are all adults and I sit at home mostly and knit. So these wraps are getting bigger and bigger, but you're right. They're mostly done in pieces. So they still are portable.
Yeah. Well, you just mentioned the Dover Lane? Yes, sorry, we're talking about Dover Lane. You just mentioned the Dover Lane, and that is truly my labor of love to you, because I've never took so long to knit something. And but again, if you don't know me, I am a super slow knitter, and I'm very, very busy. Hi, Susan.
Hi, Susan.
And I'm slow. And I cannot knit in the evening because of my glasses or anything. And and like everybody else here, is busy. So I'm trying to do it in pieces. And somehow I used to mess things up in one of the yarn overs. And I had 2 people helping. One is Amy. She's following me. She's, she helps mYak. She's at shows with us and here in New York. She is teaching me a lot. And anyway, so I would just go there. I said, oh, I think I messed it up. Can you fix it? And she would always say, no, just frog it. It's so much quicker to frog it, and frog it once and frog it twice. And then I messed it up and I said, okay, I'm not calling Amy anymore. I'm calling Kirsten. Kirsten, come over. Oh, she opened her bag. She comes to the showroom and I said, can you please fix it? Don't make me frog it. So you fix it. So, but then I finished it. And when
Yeah,
I
you
finished
finished
the
it
three
very soon
pieces,
after that.
finish the pieces. This is in 3 pieces. And I'm like, I haven't shown it to anybody really much. So
I love the colors you picked for this one. These colors are so you too, Paola.
it is like, look at that. I mean, it keeps going. I could just go. I'm not going in a slow motion. It's just really that long.
Yeah.
And it's so gorgeous. And we mix the Tibetan Cashmere and the Baby Yak.
Yeah.
And we have done some amazing color combination together. But I hate red. I just don't like red. I just hated red all along. And you told me to put it in because you will look good. And now I just love it. If I can wear red, if I have it with the saffron, with the orange, or with the
you
pink,
love
of course.
Pink, and red is just dark pink.
Yes, yeah. So, it does. Yes, Susan, it does match. I put this dress on, you know, like thinking about actually. Oh my God, the sun is. Anyway, so these guys, if you want to have an amazing wrap, just grab this design, the Dover Lane, and make it for yourself. It's also a great blanket. That's one of the good things when you do it while you knit. It just keeps you warm.
It does keep you warm, yeah.
Yeah. So it's really, maybe I should just keep it on. Look at that. I mean, it's weird being at home with that, but
it's too warm in my apartment right now for knits. My husband and I have a battle for the thermostat, and he's currently winning. I always want it much cooler. He wants it much warmer.
Right. So, but yeah, no, it took me forever, and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to lend it to anybody because I just, you know. And I think you and Amy were right. I think I would have not been happy if I made a mistake and kept going.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, frogging is my new friend.
It's frustrating, but it's nice to end up with that.
Yes, it's nice, and it's nice to do it. But while I was trying to do this, you designed something else for us, which we presented at Vogue Knitting this year. Yep,
Sheridan Square, which is another rectangular wrap. Do you have the sample there?
Of course.
So Sheridan Square is the subway station that I take when I go visit Paola. It's in Greenwich Village. And I come out of that subway station and then walk west to go over to her studio. So that's why we named that pattern Sheridan Square.
Sorry, the one somebody was asking about the name. Amy, if you're there, do you mind typing Dover Lane? It's like Dover.
Dover, D-O-V-E-R. Dover Lane and Bradford Road were the first two. Well, there was Fort Tryon was the real original one that these all came out of. But then I did Dover Lane and Bradford Road, sort of one right after the other, and they reminded me of you know, sort of some of this 1970s aesthetic. So I named them after the street. Bradford Road was the street I lived on in the 1970s when I was a kid, and then Dover Lane intersected with Bradford Road. So that's where those names came from.
Oh, I didn't know that. You
in Hightstown, New Jersey.
Oh, wow. Oh, maybe because it was in New Jersey. So
you wouldn't know. No, Bradford Road and Dover Lane aren't famous roads at all. They're little, small neighborhood roads in Hightstown, New Jersey. But that's where the names came from.
So this one is Sheridan Square, which a couple of times I got the name wrong. And so I'm starting from the beginning. You know, there's those things that I need help in showing. This is done with the Tibetan Cloud and in 5 colors. Do you want to talk about it while I show it?
Yeah.
Can you see? Yeah, sorry.
What am I going to say about it? I wanted to, the other ones were more, just sort of squares. Everything was very, up or down. This one I wanted to kind of play with angles a little bit more. So I added miters to allow them to tip them on their sides. So that shawl is actually a combination of squares that are, kind of tipped to be diamonds. Yeah. And then triangles to fill in the gaps where those squares would meet. So again, it's done modularly. You knit the pieces first and then you join it all. I join them by grafting, but you could, if you prefer, do a 3-needle bind off. I just really prefer grafting because when you graft garter stitch, you can make it just look like another row, but it's almost seamless. So
or you just send it to Amy for grafting.
Or we send it to Amy for grafting. Once you get the hang of it, grafting is not that hard. You just
Sure.
kind of got to get that chant going in your head.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I'm sure. I will graft the next one. I think but this one was done with the Tibetan Cloud. Just one skein. Unbelievable. Have you seen how big this thing is? It's just one skein per color. It's 5 skeins, and we did this on the greens, which is, you know, greens and blues, which is very much more your colors.
Yeah, in that cooler spectrum.
Yes. Yeah. And you know, at the beginning when you chose the palettes and we went back and forth, and I think one of the name was Cladonia as well. I think Cladonia, one of the colors, which reminded us of the shawl. I wasn't 100% sure, and I was like, oh, okay, all right, she knows what she's doing, and it looks so beautiful. But and one fun things to work with you is, and we had a workshop as well, which was amazing, is that you show people how they can just color in, make their own color combinations, and on the computer very easily without any sophisticated software. Do you want to talk about that a little bit? Because that's
when I make them for myself and put them up on Instagram a lot, and they're a little bit more refined because I do mine in Illustrator. But if you have Word, Microsoft Word, or Pages in Apple, you can just make squares and rectangles and layer them on top of one another. And if you use that eyedropper tool, I actually will, you know, grab colors off your website and use the eyedropper tool to at least get the color started, to get close to what your color is. Yeah. And then I'll refine it from there. But I find with these wraps where the proportions of colors can really make a difference in the overall look of the wrap. You know, if the border is green, it might be completely different than if you had made even the same 5 colors, made the border in red. So I love to kind of try out the combinations and what order I use those colors in, what's going to be color A, B, C, and D. By doing that, by just kind of layering. If you don't want to use technology, you could even cut out, you know, paper. Yeah, yeah. Find some colored paper and just cut
even
them.
like pencils. I like pencils. You know, more like,
I have some patterns. The mitts that I just released, I included a coloring page with, so that, which is also Tibetan Cloud. And I released a coloring page so that you can use colored pencils or crayons to try out your color combinations. And I actually did these because we had extra yarn, using the same skeins, just putting different combinations.
Oh yeah, so I love the fact that there are 2 color combinations.
Yeah.
I mean, that you can just play around.
With there's so much fun to play with the colors.
Yeah. Somebody loves my cups. Thank you. I love cups. I love teacups.
Somebody's asking the first one. For my rectangular wraps, I think my easiest rectangular wrap, if you wanted to start with one of them, would be Fort Tryon. Yeah. And you'd get the basics of creating those miters and how it works. And then you could move on to Dover Lane and Bradford Road from there. Yeah. So if this person was asking which would be the first one that you
but to be honest, again, I am not a super experienced knitter, and I think even Dover Lane, starting with that, it was fine. I mean, starting was not a problem. It's just that I had to pay attention with those yarn overs. But other than that, I think that's also both the Fort Tryon and Dover Lane are beautiful.
And actually, one thing I think that this is just a little tip that I'd like to throw out there, because I think this is a problem that you are having with it. The stitch markers you use with something like that, so they're mitered corners, so you're doing a yarn over, and the stitch marker is sitting right next to the yarn over. Yeah. So you are just using those little O-ring stitch markers, which can very easily slip underneath your yarn over, which will move it out of place, out of position.
Once we changed the stitch markers, and I made them longer.
Right. Yeah. So you want the kind of stitch marker that's a little bit dangly, so it doesn't travel underneath your yarn over.
Yeah. So somebody was asking about how many skeins, and thank you, Amy, for typing it up. How many skeins for the mitt? You want to put your mitts up again?
Yeah.
So
the mitts are 3 colors. Do you have the hat there too?
Yeah, of course.
And I think I put it on the wrong hand. There are 3 colors. And you can easily make the hat and the mitts. And actually, out of the same skeins of yarn, we got that hat
Yeah.
and both these pairs of mitts.
Oh,
and
both
I still
pairs?
have leftover yarn.
Oh,
2
wow.
pairs of mitts. I could probably make a third. You just keep
Wow.
switching up the location of where you use the color.
Or you can make 2 hats and a pair of mitts.
Or 2 hats and a pair of mitts, and just, you know, flip flop the colors.
And this is just with these 3 skeins.
Yeah.
And
that yarn goes a long way.
Yeah, this each skein is 328 yards. Remember, guys, that a lot of the stores in the US, in Europe, is carrying, and Australia as well is carrying our yarn. So if you want to support your local yarn store, call them up and see if they have it. If they don't have it, you know, the bags are just 5 skeins, so they can easily order a bag for a few customers. Of course, you can go on our website as well and support us directly. Whatever you choose is fine with us. And as long as you go out and knit something beautiful. And we actually made
the Tibetan Cloud. You know, I designed Sheridan Square in that. We've done the mitts and the hat, and it would also be a great sweater yarn. So it's a really versatile yarn.
Yeah, and we did. We actually, if you design, and we will talk about, Sarah Solomon designed with the cloud. She made Sweet Briar. If somebody wants to look it up on our website, is a beautiful sweater in Tibetan Cloud. And so going back to the mitts, this is the version that we did, you know, thinking about more on the greens that also goes with the Sheridan Square. So this is also very, very beautiful. Of course, I put them upside down. We didn't think about doing what you did, which would have been cool as well, you know, but it looks so nice. They're really, and the hat, you know, I think now we will have to have the hat as well. So I posted on Instagram. That's my husband wearing the hat, but it's so, you know, it's so good. I'm not really a hat person, but
so the way these mitts came about is the hat. It's called Mountain Hopper Hat. I don't think we've said the name yet. I published it in 2016. And so I didn't originally design it with your yarn. I designed it with someone else's yarn, but you knit it up in your yarn. You're like, oh, that hat would be great for Tibetan Cloud.
Yeah.
So you knit it up, and then I think it was Amy actually who said to me, I was up there for your party at Vogue Knitting Live, and Amy showed me the hat, and she's like, you know what this hat needs? There's a lot of leftovers. We need mitts to go with this. I'm like, that's a great idea. Let's do some mitts. Yeah. So that's where the mitts came from. It was actually Amy's idea.
And actually the hat, we used the yarn because we had leftovers from the cocoa wrap from Olga Jesse. And I had this yarn left over, and I said, what can I do with it? So you came, and then we looked, and we did this one. But then, you know, somebody doesn't buy that pattern and still buys for this.
Yeah.
At least they can have the mitts. And you were so good. I mean, you know, and you were so quick with this mitts design as well. And I really, really, really love them. And
that's the beauty of mitts. They knit up so quickly. I think I posted the pattern for the first time yesterday, and there's at least one person who's nearly done with her first mitt. I'm guessing by now, because I saw this morning, it was almost done. She just had the gusset to do, so I'm guessing she's already finished her first mitt. So they're really quick. You can make a pair of mitts in a day or two.
Right.
So
that's, you know, that's amazing. And again, you did the illustration, and Kirsten, sorry, but you said name of a good first time wrap so fast is the Fort Tryon. Yes, it is.
The Fort Tryon.
Yes. And if you are a subscriber to our newsletter, I don't know if you are, but if you are, tomorrow there is a newsletter that goes out with a summary of our chat and all of the names that we talked about, all of the yarns, all of the whatever. You know, you don't have to subscribe if you don't want to. I'm just saying, if you want to, there's a lot of information there. We also post them on Instagram, and this chat will go up on our IGTV with all of the other episodes. So it's easier for people to keep looking. I know we are going fast, you know, 50 minutes seems to fly by, and we try to talk about different things. Somebody was asking about the Tibetan Cloud. So this is an ancient breed of Tibetan sheep that only lives on very poor areas, in very high areas on the Tibetan plateau, and it's very. Maybe can you explain how? You're better than me in English in explaining how how we dehair it. So it's not, normally you shear a sheep. Normally you take a sheep and you shear her.
Yeah.
Shear it.
Yeah, shear. Yeah.
Sure. And then you start the spinning and stuff. But what we do, we de-hair it. So we separate the coarse hair from the thin hair, and we only keep the thin hair, which is really like a cashmere wool because it's so much softer. It's no scratchy at all.
Yes.
This is like, yeah. So
when you first told me you were going to work with this unnamed fiber from Tibet that was just some sheep that they'd been raising forever, I expected it to be a much coarser yarn. I was shocked when you showed me the fiber you were using.
And I think, because normally, originally or traditionally, this wool is used for rugs, with all of the beautiful Tibetan rugs or, Nepali, Himalaya rugs that you see, and it's very, very coarse. And that's why, we were a bit dubious about using it or not. But when we realized that we could have it going through the same process as our Baby Yak and Tibetan Cashmere and still use the waste, because we use the waste, we go back to the nomads, they make, other things with them. They can make rugs out of it. So for us, it was very important, because that means that we could bring a much bigger income to the Tibetan communities that we work with, instead of just having the Baby Yak and the Kashmir, which is very limited. Oh, thank you for saying that. I explained it well. What's that? But let's throw this out. Whoop. And there is something. Oh, of course. We should talk about the big collaboration that we did.
Yes.
The Vibrant Connections.
Yes, that was a lot of fun. There it is. There are my daughters.
Yes. So this is a collaboration. After a while, we were playing with different yarns and different designs, and we said, why don't we do a full collection, a capsule together? And I was thrilled when Kirsten said yes. And Vibrant Connection. I mean, the title came to Kirsten thinking about the connection that we have established over the years, the friendship, the connection, and in terms of the location, the family, and everything else as well. So, you want to talk about
So it really was a wonderful collaboration, because obviously it began with you and I working together, and lots of walks from my apartment. It was about a 45-minute walk, but a beautiful walk along the river to get from my apartment up to your studio, to your showroom. So there was a lot of that back and forth, picking colors, you and I really collaborating and talking about colors and, what the designs might look like. But then eventually, after we completed the collection, it also became a collaboration with my daughters, who modeled for it. One of my girls did sketches throughout of each of the designs, as well as some other bits of artwork in there. My daughter Isabella. Yeah. There we go. That's one of her drawings. But she also drew some of the designs themselves.
Yes, get in there.
So my daughters are named Sophia and Isabella. Sophia has been mostly modeling for there's one of the wraps that Isabella drew. Sophia has modeled for me a lot more, because Sophia is a performer. She's used to being sort of out in front of the camera. And but Isabella modeled with her this time, and it was really fun to see the two of them and the energy that they brought to it, because they're twins and really comfortable with each other. And that's Isabella.
And they were so fun. I mean, we had a photo shoot with Gail Zucker.
Yeah, who is also a good friend, and we've worked with quite a bit, my girls and I. So Sophie and Izzy felt really comfortable with her too, and I think that created a very dynamic photo shoot. It's very energetic. They're in all kinds of crazy positions.
Yeah. It was, one of the things that always amazed me, how your daughters they could dance, because for the love of me, I cannot dance. And the music and the, everything was so super cool. And I felt cool just by association. And of course, you can see that how Sophie is really a great dancer as well. But Isabella, she has this, some of her poses were like so amazing. I have to find one, because it's, I think on the chair, And
the thing that Isabella cannot see at all without her glasses. She does not wear contact lenses, but we made her take off her glasses, so she really couldn't see a thing when she was modeling.
She was such a
She was a real trooper about it.
Yeah. And with this one, we had fun because we did different designs, and you know, there are shawls, there are cows, there are, and there is a sweater. I mean, you know, this is one of we were just showing it. One of these talking about easy wrap. This is even easier than for trial.
That one is a great, and we wanted to have a range of skill levels within the book, and that is a very easy, you know, most beginners would be able to manage that wrap. But it's also really fun to play with the colors on that one.
And I think it's actually I have the cowl when we talk about mosaic.
Yep, and so the cowl is those bars that sort of transition from one color to the other are just simple slip stitches. So if you wanted to try mosaic, but you were a little bit intimidated by it, this would be a great place to start with this.
And
cowl.
I need this. I need a version of this in the pinks and purples. And it was easy. Yeah. Literally, it was easy, and it went really fast. And this is one of the few projects I actually finished all by myself.
Yeah, and it's that kind of project that you can take along with you when you're going to your knitting group, or you know you might be a little bit distracted. It doesn't take a whole lot of concentration. So, and then we also did the hat with the slip stitches, which is using a really, you know, pretty much the same technique as the cowl, but a lot more colors. And the concept behind that is these yarns that Paola makes are so precious, and we want to use every little bit of them. So I was just sitting there with sort of a pile of my scraps after I designed a bunch of these things. I'm like, look how beautiful that pile of yarns is. Let me make a hat with them. So those are just little bits and bobs that were left over from all the other things I designed for the book. And I think that's always a fun kind of project to have, to use your scraps.
Yeah. We put this up as a bundle. Of course, you know, a bundle, it looks so expensive for a hat because it has all of the colors. But we do say that you can do so many things with it. You can use it for a cowl. You can use it for the hat. You can make 4 hats probably out of it. But and then, of course, and unfortunately, it's very sad that I don't have. But you have a version of the river stroll.
Yes. And I saw somebody ask what the name of the collection is again, and it's Vibrant Connections.
Yeah, Vibrant Connections. Yeah. You can find the PDF, the ebook on Ravelry, or just the individual patterns. You will see all the patterns, and they are sold individually now. So you can find all of them, or you can just also, you know, on our feed, DM, send a message. What was this? What was that? Just, you know, we are very good and fast in responding. So
I just realized when you held up the book, I think everything's reversed mirrored in this, so when you hold it up you can't really read, it's backwards.
Yeah, that's why
so that's this. And so you know, I make all my samples for my daughters who model for me. I don't do any modeling, so they never fit me. So I said to Paola one day, I really want to make one for myself. I want to be able to wear mYak when I come visit mYak. So
only when you come visit? I mean, don't you wear mYak?
Well, no, I actually wear this all the time, but I really love to, when I'm visiting you, wear it. So we picked out this blue, which I've always loved. What is this nightshade?
Lazy Day.
Lazy Day. And then again, I went back to all of my leftovers that I had from the collection. So the original design in the book uses, how many colors are in that yoke? 3?
3.
Plus the main color?
Yeah.
So for this one, I don't even know how many colors I put in. I just sort of picked up and knit the same yoke pattern, but with a whole bunch of colors.
Yeah.
And if anybody wants to try that, if you buy the pattern, just shoot me an email and ask me for the chart that I used for this, and I'll send you the chart. But it was a lot of fun to do and just use up all those little scraps of cashmere and Baby Yak that I had.
That is really beautiful.
I love wearing this sweater. I do wear
and I think, you know, and what I said, I love exactly yours as well. You know, I definitely have to make one in Lazy Day for sure, because I love Lazy Day. But also
it's a really good color. It's that nice sort of almost denim-y blue, but not quite. It's really a very versatile, wearable color. I think it looks good on everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. The one before Zoya, no, it was not brioche. It was just a mosaic. Knitting.
Yeah, it's mosaic slip stitches.
I wish I could wear this dress again. This is actually my yellow dress, and I don't, after this quarantine thing.
That photo is all about the dress and the boots.
I'm sorry. the shawl is really beautiful, but I'm just dreaming of going back into that.
Yeah, that's Paola's
back
dress.
into that dress. But this shawl is amazing. It's one of my favorites as well. It's called Under the Scholar Tree. And we actually, when we were looking at the name, we find that the tree is just outside the showroom. We had this big tree, and we went into an app to look at the name of the trees. And the name of the tree that just outside the showroom is the Scholar Tree. So I think what was one of the way that this name came about, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, we were trying to do things that had to do with the neighborhood. And
yes, I mean, isn't that amazing? This one is in Kashmir, finger in Kashmir. So
yeah,
I don't even know if we have bundles up, you know, but anyway, you can always ask us about it. And you can find the information. The green and the blues, it will be any other. And these are the mosaic mitts.
Yeah, those were a lot of fun. Yeah. And those have a really happy memory for me because I was working on that design when I went up to Maine one year to help out with my friend Janny's sheep shearing. Oh, so yeah? I just have this memory of sitting. What I do is I fly into Portland, Maine, and then my friends pick me up and we drive the rest of the way up. So I was sitting in the restaurant of the hotel where I was staying and working on that design. So that's what I think of every time I see them. Ripple on.
And ripple on. These are ripple on mitts. Mm-hmm. And this is one of the of Isabella's drawing as well, which is really nice. And then you made an illustration, just also for the new mitts. You made an illustration like this, and you can just color it in.
Try out the colors,
Yes. And I forgot to say, just before we came on live, Anastasia, my daughter, just said, "Okay, how long is your live?" And I said, "Well, like an hour." And then I said, "Who are you going to live with?" And I said, "Kirsten." And she said, "Kirsten Kapur?" So I remembered your full name.
Well, we had a lot of fun playing together on the photo shoot.
Yes, and here that she is with a little.
Yeah, she's so cute.
Yeah, with a little.
She was so much fun. She was such a trooper.
We did when I asked you to make a version. I think actually you suggested to make a version of the yoke sweater for children. Mm-hmm. And then we made it on the size of my daughter. Normally we never show my daughter around, but this was the only exception. So this is a beautiful.
Yeah, I think I'm the one who said, "Would you mind having your daughter model?" Because I know you really, prior to that, hadn't really put her image out there anyway. But she was so much fun, and
she really loved
gave
it.
a lot of energy to the photo shoot as well.
Yeah, so. Yeah. She loves, and she wished she was here. During one live, she snuck in. She was under the tables, and then she starts moving around, and I was trying to hide her with the video like this. And this was also one of my little favorites.
Leroy Street Stoop.
Look at that.
The motif is like one of those topiaries that you might see on a stoop of one of the brownstones in Greenwich Village. You can see the little flower pot and then the tree coming up out of it. Yeah. So that's where the name of that one came from.
This way. And I like it because it's more my colors, I guess. But also, it's long.
Yes.
And, but it's not one of those shawl that you don't know where to put or, but I love them.
Yeah. It was that one I ripped out and reknit quite a bit, trying to figure out exactly how I wanted it. The first iteration of it I wasn't happy with, and I think I showed you that version, and you were definitely lukewarm on it too, and I just was bugging me. I was like, this isn't right, and I finally ripped back and reknit it and did that shape, which I think makes a lot of sense and really worked well for it. Would
you believe it is already 55 minutes that we've been talking?
Wow. But this is what happens when I come visit you up in your showroom. We just start talking, and I stay all afternoon, and we get nothing done.
I wish I had asked more questions because you are doing so much besides knitting. You're such a creative person. You're doing porcelain. You do your sewing. You're doing like God knows what.
Yeah, well, last year when I had my year of not so much designing, I live in New York City, where I am lucky to have access to so many wonderful things. We have the Textile Art Center where I can go and weave, which I love to do. They also have a screen printing table where you can actually print yardage, which I haven't done yet, but I'm dying to do because my background is textile design.
Yeah.
But I've done all kinds of arts, but I had never really done ceramics. So I signed up for a ceramics class and had so much fun. And I'm not saying this to be humble, it's true. I was absolutely the worst person in the class when I started. And even that was fun for me because I'm so used to, when you do something creative as your job, there's so much, you're trying to make it all so perfect all the time. And it was really fun to just get my hands dirty and play with that clay and not be particular, it didn't matter if my mugs were a little bit wonky.
Yeah. But you did some really nice things. I mean, I have one piece of yours in the showroom, which I will have to return eventually. But, and I said we should do more. And I think, I love what I think just the creativity just pours out of your pores, and it's that it's unstoppable.
Yeah, I think a lot of knitters can probably relate to that drive that we all have to just create.
Yeah.
And thank goodness we have. My father, actually, I was lucky to be raised by creative parents. And my father used to say, what do people who don't have hobbies do? And that really rings true right now when we're all in our homes. Yeah. I feel badly for people who don't have things like knitting or sewing or some other creative act, drawing, painting. My son is a musician. He challenged himself to write a song every day for the month of April. Wow. So he'll have 30 new songs by the end of the month. Wow. So it doesn't matter what you do, just being creative does help you get through these times. And and I think we're, when you have it in you, you're driven to do it, and it doesn't really matter whether it's knitting or sewing or drawing or painting.
Yeah. And of course, I just got a text with reminding me to give out the code. I always do that. It's 1 minute remaining. So if you're interested in, there are a couple of things. The mitts that Kirsten has designed, Kirsten is donating 50% of the sale to Cure.
A friend of mine has a child with a rare disease, and it's, oh my gosh, my brain. Sorry, I had it in my head. It's the disease that her son has, and I'm donating the money. She started this where you put a stitch, the rare stitch she calls it. You put a special stitch, a duplicate stitch on your design, which I did put on the mitts to identify the left and right mitt. So she's encouraging all knitters to do that to bring about awareness, but I decided to take it one step further and donate to the particular cause that is the disease that her son has. So they're basically doing research to find a cure for his rare disease.
So that's very nice of you to do that. And as usual, if you're following us on our newsletter, you get something else. But for all the people following us on Instagram and on this chat, you get 10% off any of the bundles that you get, and the yarn and the bundles on our website for a week until the next until next Saturday. And the code is Kirsten 10. Check back on our Instagram because we put it there. I only have 29 seconds remaining. So thank you, Kirsten.
Thank you, Paola. Thanks for having me. Thank you, everybody who watched us.
Thank you, everybody, for watching us. And as usual, we will see you next, what was that? Today's Saturday, so Wednesday. And then next Saturday, we have a lot of guests coming up. And thank you for keep following us. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you all so very much for watching us. See you at the next episode.